What's up, everybody? I'm Dev.
And I'm Andrew.
And we're issuing our strongest possible spoiler warning.
Oh, I've heard of this flick. There's a twist in it, isn't there?
If you haven't seen Infinity War yet, turn this video off right now and go watch some of our other awesome video series like Yellow Spandex or How to Kill.
Yeah, because we're talking all about that shocking ending and just how badly the Avengers had to fuck up to let it happen.
Thanos won. Half the universe is dead, and until Avengers 4 drops next year, we're just gonna have to bide our time by playing the blame game.
Jesus. Look up idiot in the dictionary. You know what you'll find?
Picture me?
No! The definition of the word idiot, which you f***ing are.
It took a catastrophic series of screw-ups to allow Thanos to collect all 6 gems and inflict his twisted will on the universe. So today we're gonna point a couple of fingers and try to figure out who's to blame.
We've rounded up some pretty unusual suspects, starting with Peter Dinklage's weird and wonderful cameo as Eitri. Without him, Thanos would have had no way to actually weaponize the Infinity Stones. He'd just carry them around in a little velvet sack like some D&D dice. I can't really fault Eitri too much though, considering that Thanos threatened to wipe out his entire species if he didn't create the Gauntlet. Then, like an ass, he went ahead and did it anyway. Now, Eitri does make amends by forging a new weapon that makes Mjolnir look like a pool noodle. Thank you. Thank you.
But sadly, Stormbreaker's potential was wasted in the hands of Thor. Yeah, he uses the built-in Bifrost to warp to Wakanda, obliterate a ton of Outriders, and shatter Thanos' sternum, but that's not enough to prevent him from snapping his fingers. Going for the head would have been great.
Go for the head.
But you could have just chopped off his arm and everything else would have been fine.
He should have just went for the head.
In his defense, he came from like 200 feet in the air and threw it.
Okay, fine, yes.
And it was like right in this area.
He didn't adjust for wind resistance. You can't fault Thor.
It's a little more top heavy.
It was a new weapon, he just broke it out.
I really wish I had my hammer.
Sounds like you had a pretty special and intimate relationship with this hammer, and that losing it was almost comparable to losing a loved one.
It's a nice way of putting it.
Maybe he wasn't thinking straight, thanks to the loss of his beloved brother, who's also kind of a huge reason we're in this mess in the first place. Loki. First off, fuck Loki for even getting in bed with Thanos in the first place, although technically his embarrassing failure in the very first Avengers movie actually kept the Mind Stone out of Thanos' hands for years. Still, he caves in about 30 seconds after the Titan threatens to kill Thor, something Loki's been trying to do for like, I don't know, 1,000 years at this point. He hands over the Tesseract and gets his neck snapped for his trouble, so right from the opening scene, we know 2 things. 1, anyone can die, and 2, snitches get stitches.
Yeah, brother, becoming predictable. See, Loki, life is about growth, it's about change, but you seem to just want to stay the same.
Still, Thanos knew exactly who had the Space Stone, and I'm sure he would have pried it from Loki's cold, dead hands sooner or later.
It's not like the location was a total mystery for countless millennia, unlike the Soul Stone, which brings us to Gamora. The greenest guardian of the galaxy is the emotional core of Infinity War, and her relationship with Thanos gives us some welcome insight into her history and his motivations, but it's Gamora's connection to another family member that ends up annihilating half the universe, her sister Nebula. I mean, I get it, I'd have a hard time keeping my mouth shut if someone I loved was being brutally tortured, but Gamora was willing to die to keep the Soul Stone secret, and I doubt her sister would have a problem sacrificing herself. It just feels like Gamora caved a little too soon.
Just too soon. Nebula escapes like 10 minutes later, all on her own.
If Gamora just had held out a little longer or was a better liar, Thanos would be down a stone, she'd be alive, and Star-Lord would not have flown off the handle.
Also, she should have just have gone right. We'll get to Peter Quill in a second, but first, we should talk about the Secret Avengers. The Vision had a pretty impressive life. He's only 3 years old and he's already saved the world and found true love. I gotta take his class or something.
What did I do?
What did I do? Yeah. At 3 years old, I was shitting my pants. That's all I was doing.
Yeah.
Still, he's willing to make the ultimate sacrifice, and he begs Wanda to destroy the cosmic weapon of destruction embedded in his skull. Wanda, Cap, and his Secret Avengers put the kibosh on that plan, which is noble, but not exactly wise.
I'm sorry.
Me too.
I know. We don't trade lives, and I can't fault Steve Rogers for sticking by his teammates, even if it means Wakanda is utterly devastated while Shuri tries to back up the Vision's brain.
That scene stressed me out.
That was
the moment they walked in, I was like,
very
protect
stressful
her.
scene.
I was like,
and she brought back the hand cannons too. She was like, "Get out of here! You see Black Panther?"
Let's go!
Wanda eventually shatters the stone, but it's too late. Okay, well actually, it's not too late. It's about right on time, but that has no meaning when you're up against somebody who has the remote control from Click in his glove.
I hope they remember you.
Otherwise known as a cosmic rewind button.
You're in Bed Bath & Beyond, sir.
Love conquers all, but it can't conquer the conqueror, and in Infinity War, passions only cause problems. It's time to talk Star-Lord. This one, he
really did.
When we first met Peter Quill, he was a cocky, spacefaring scoundrel who only cared about himself, but after losing his mom and both his dads,
come after us, alt-right, he's got one mom and two dads. Don't at me.
Falling in love and fostering a surrogate family, he's still kind of a dick. A caring dick, but
still a dick.
Yeah, dick. Especially when it comes to Gamora. He was willing to uphold his promise and kill his love to protect the Soul Stone, but he was a little too slow on the draw. Then on Titan, when the team is seconds away from snatching the Gauntlet, Quill goes apeshit when he finds out about Gamora's death and wakes up Thanos from his Mantis-induced haze. We know Star-Lord has rage issues.
Sounds bad.
But come on, dude, you could have blown off his head with one of your laser guns instead of punching him in the head with your puny half-human fist. No doubt about it, this was a major f*** up, but maybe it was all part of the plan.
A Sorcerer Supreme could have easily stopped Star-Lord if he wanted to. I'm looking at you, Doctor Strange. I mean, what happened with all that? I won't hesitate to sacrifice you or your adorable teenage sidekick stuff. Is that a good impression of a British guy trying to do an American accent?
Yeah.
Thank you. Instead, he hands it over to Thanos to save the life of some dude he doesn't even f with. Why would he do that? Is he worried that the MCU will tank once Robert Downey Jr. is out of the picture?
Yes.
Yeah, probably.
I know it's rhetorical, but yes.
Maybe he's looking out for his fellow Sherlock, or did he just go to Comic-Con and see all those sequels planned for characters who just crumbled into dust? Well, if you really need the ending explained, it's because when he was doing his Jacob's Ladder, Misfits, Simon Going Invisible, shaky head shit, he saw 14,605 possible futures, and only one where the good guys come out on top. That means he saw a timeline where Star-Lord kept his cool and they got the gauntlet off, and Thanos won anyway. What about using the time stone to go back to when the Hulk was still Ed Norton, or even further and snuff out Thanos when he was just a purple little baby boy? We know Strange isn't afraid to mess with the space-time continuum. I mean, hell, he made Dormammu live through what, 14 million years or something like that? Yeah.
Dormammu, I've come to bargain.
Dormammu.
Dormammu?
Dormammu.
Dormammu?
Dormammu.
Come to bargain.
I've come to bargain.
But it would have been pointless. They still would have lost. For whatever reason, Tony Stark needs to be alive in order to topple Thanos. Get mad all you want, but it was Strange himself who said there was no other way.
Well, there was one other way if the asshole who started this whole mess just stayed on Titan in the first place, Thanos. Look, at the end of the day, we can blame Nick Fury for not paging Captain Marvel sooner or Shuri for not using USB-C, but ultimately the buck stops with Thanos. He had noble intentions, but he went about them in the worst possible way. Murdering half the sentient beings in the galaxy is a pretty drastic step towards sustainability. Why couldn't he just snap his fingers and create a limitless supply of food and energy, or at least make more bike lanes and public transportation?
I mean, did he even consider banning plastic bags? You see what they're doing in California? It's crazy.
With the power of the Infinity Gauntlet, there are a million other ways he could have saved the universe, but he chose the quick and dirty option, and now Groot's dead.
Again.
This is all on Thanos, and instead of blaming the Avengers, we should mourn them, but not too hard. I mean, all the heroes that died are the new faces who just signed big multi-year contracts, and not even Thanos can stop Black Panther 2 from happening.
Yeah, the second Black Panther started disappearing, everybody in the theater was like, get the f out of here. Pointing fingers is never constructive, especially when we haven't heard the whole story yet. So until we see how the gang gets out of this mess in Avengers 4, let's all just take a break, cool our jets, watch some box office records get smashed, and get hyped for the Wasp and Captain Marvel instead.
You get hurt, hurt them back. You get killed, walk it off.
Hey guys, thank you so much for watching this video.
There are a lot of people in the MCU to point fingers at, but we want to know who you think the most responsible is.
And for extra credit, let us know what you think the 4th Avengers movie is going to be called. Let us know in the comments below, and as always, please subscribe to NowThis Nerd.
And if you see Thanos, tell him you did a good job.
I mean, he did, but yeah.